Welcome to Cottage Chronicles. If you haven't subscribed yet, will you please take a moment to hit the button and become an official subscriber? I would love to have you following along on my little country channel. Today I had a very fun chore to do, and the sweetest little helper to help me. We are planting the pots that go on our front porch with flowers for spring. Now, I wish I could say that these planters were indeed vintage cement, but they are not. They are synthetic, and I got them at a yard sale for $1 each. So they may not be my first choice as far as vintage charm, but they look pretty good and I really liked the price. So until I find the pots of my dreams, these are what sits on my front porch. Now, my house, my cottage, is painted black with an off-white trim. So I wanted to choose plants that were going to really pop against that dark color. So I have some corally pink, lots of white, and I chose some dramatic, super dark purple, almost black petunias to put in the back. They won't really pop against the house, but I just loved them so much I couldn't resist. Little shrubs are actually just leftover Christmas decorations, and I put them on the front porch when I took down the Christmas stuff, and they have done really well. So I'm potting them up, and we're gonna keep them as long as they keep looking good. Took it upon herself to be the person that is going to assist with depotting the plants. And you know what? It's her special gifting that we never knew about. So she took these flowers out of the pots one by one, and then she had a little system for organizing the plastic pots. She was keeping everything just so. Stuffing these baskets good and full, and hoping that as the summer progresses, they will just be spilling over with blooms and foliage and beautiful things, and just make this abundant, rich, draping sort of pot. So we'll see if all my dreams come true, and if I can remember to water them twice a day, because it does get really hot here. Fortunately, they're on the north side of the house, so they won't get too scorched. But I think I'm going to have to buy a cute watering can to keep on the front porch. You can see all of my other children peeking out at us, and I wanted to have a little bit of special time with the baby, so I told them they had to stay inside while I did the planting and tidying up the front porch. It's remarkable how dusty this front porch mat gets. I clean this thing, it seems like at least once a week, and it's always so dirty, but I'm grateful for how much dirt it's actually keeping out of my house. be fun to just do something just with Nora. I mean, I still call her the baby, but she's 2 years old and she's such a charmer. And I loved just having a little bit of time to do something with her alone. Well, we managed to work up an appetite, so we're having one of my absolute favorite meals. It's great for a breakfast or even a lunch, and this is eggs Florentine. Of course, it starts off with butter, and then I just take about 3 or 4 nice big handfuls of spinach and wilt them in that butter. All they really need is a little bit of salt and pepper, and they just get tender and juicy, and they don't need to be browned or anything. Really, they just need to be wilted for a few minutes. This is one of the easiest dishes to make, and it's so delicious. Now, we've been trading some of our homemade bread for these beautiful blue and green eggs. We only have brown eggs, so we were kind of enamored with these. I just make little wells in the spinach while the stovetop is still on and crack the eggs right into them. Then I just poured about a cup of heavy cream between each egg. You know, I said last week that I have a cream tooth. Totally do. This is the thing that makes this dish so wonderful. Some shaved Parmesan cheese goes between each egg. You can sprinkle it over the whole top, but I kind of like to leave the yolks out and beautiful because they turn such a deep, rich, orangish yellowish. So I like to put a little cracked pepper on them, and that is really all there is to this dish. It goes into a hot oven for about 10 minutes, maybe up to 15 minutes, just depending on your pan and your oven. And while those are in the oven, I'm going to make a topping for this beautiful dish, which is some toasted bread or croutons. Day-old or dry bread does work best because it's dry. It'll kind of get a nice toasty, crunchy sort of feeling to it, and I love that. But you can use whatever bread you have, or you can just use pre-made croutons. But into a nice hot pan of sizzling butter they go, and they just need an occasional stir to make sure the butter gets on every side, and before long they'll be a beautiful toasty brown. Eggs Florentine wouldn't be complete without herbs on top. I expect that parsley is the herb of choice for most people, but I love this dish with some fresh chopped tarragon. It's got kind of a black licorice flavor, like a fennel or anise, and it's remarkably fresh with this very, very rich dish. So to me, it's the perfect complement. Not everyone loves tarragon. If you don't love it, you can just use parsley, or even some fresh basil would be really nice. As for me, I'm really sold on the tarragon. Out of the oven comes my dish, and the yolks and the whites are just set, but not hard yet. And I'm popping those browned croutons right on top, and then giving everything a generous sprinkle of my fresh tarragon. that is. It is super delicious, very filling and satisfying, but it's not overdone in any way. It's just the right amount of extravagance with that heavy cream, but it still feels fresh with the fresh herbs and the crunchy croutons. I love eggs Florentine. I could eat it 3 times a week and be so happy. Mealtime is a great time for Ray to read one of our family devotionals while we're all kind of together and quiet, and we have something to keep our mouths and hands busy. So usually during some meal is when we will do some theological discussion and reading from scripture or from one of our family devotion books. If you don't know this already, you soon will. We drink copious amounts of tea at the cottage, and with any meal that it seems remotely appropriate to drink tea, we will be drinking tea in the winter, in the spring, in the summer. Doesn't matter the weather. It's hot tea and fresh raw milk, and that makes any meal just feel so cozy and filling. Plum Grove is one of my favorite nooks on our property, and unfortunately we've only got a few blossoms this year. We had an enormous plum harvest last year, but this year I'm afraid it's going to be a little more meager. Still, we're enjoying some of the beautiful blossoms, and we're hoping that we get to the plums before the birds do. Chester desperately needs a haircut, so in the past, he has been quite terrified of getting his hair cut, but I offered him $1 if he had his hair cut, and I did not make it contingent on his attitude or if he cried or anything like that. I just said, if you make it through, you get $1, and that really made all the difference for him. He has something in particular that he's been wishing to purchase. It's a stuffed animal that he saw at a grocery store, and he has had his eye on it for months. So the prospect of earning $1 just by sitting in a chair really helped him push through the discomfort. And the whole time he was chatting about what he was going to buy with his $1. So I feel like that is money well spent. There were no tears, and he felt very good about the experience. In the spring and summer, when the boys get haircuts, we like to gather up all the clumps of hair that have fallen down and go spread them around our field in the hopes that they will be useful to some birds that are creating nests. Now, every time we see or find a nest, the boys are checking to see if they can find pieces of their hair in there. We have not yet found that, but we remain optimistic that someday we're going to find a nest and we're going to see clumps of the boys' hair built into the nest. Thank you so much for following along with me in my little journey at the cottage. If you have not yet subscribed, please do that. I appreciate every subscriber so much.